2024 has been one of the most insane years for sneaker releases that I can remember, and that includes both hyped up releases and just everyday wears. And earlier this year, I dropped a video called The Most Comfortable Sneaker of 2024, and at the time, that was absolutely the case. However, recently New Balance released a brand new pair of sneakers that completely surpasses the comfort of the Fuel Cell Rebel V4, my previous most comfortable sneaker of the year. And that new shoe is the New Balance Fresh Foam X More V5. I mean, just look at it. Look how insanely thick this midsole is. It's ridiculous. I mean, just for comparison, here's a pair of Nike Zoom Vomero 5s, just to give you an idea of how insanely thick this midsole is. I've never seen anything like this in my entire life. It's wild. And not only is this midsole insanely thick, it's also crazy soft and priced incredibly well. I'm not gonna lie, in the beginning of the year, I was kind of like, okay, New Balance, you got some stuff dropping, but nothing that I'm that excited about. And towards the end of the year, we've been getting some of the most insane sneaker releases, whether it's the More V5 or the brand new 760 V2s, or any of their new sneaker collaborations. New Balance has just absolutely owned 2024. And I thought it was a year of ASICs, but I mean, look at this shoe. This is crazy. As you probably could have guessed from the name, this shoe is the follow-up to the Fresh Foam X More V4. And while yes, that shoe was an excellent max cushion sneaker, this shoe just takes it to another level. The More V5 excels in a few different use cases. The first is running, obviously, because this is a running sneaker. This shoe was designed as a max cushion recovery sneaker. It's not gonna give you the most bounciness or rebound in the world, but it's gonna give you the softest underfoot ride that I could possibly imagine. Brooks actually just recently released their brand new Glycerin Ghost Max, a shoe which is also another max cushion recovery sneaker. And while this shoe is also amazing, and I think it might even look better, it's just ever so slightly not as soft as the More V5. Believe me, I've got a bunch of videos planned for this shoe, so stay tuned for that. But the More V5 is truly, in my opinion, the softest shoe that you can buy right now that isn't some like crazy marathon running sneaker that's $300 that no one would actually wear casually. We'll get more into my experience with running in this shoe later on in the video, but the other way that this shoe absolutely excels is an everyday lifestyle sneaker. This shoe is stupid soft underfoot. Unnecessarily soft, I'd say, like to a ridiculous degree, to a point that just seems like it doesn't make sense. Why did New Balance make this? I'm not sure, but I'm glad that they did, because this shoe just feels like you're stepping into, I always say clouds, but like that feels just like old hat now. I feel like you're stepping into a cloud spaceship that flies you to another comfort dimension. This shoe gives you that, and gives you it for an amazing price. So the Brooks that we just talked about come in at a retail price of $200, whereas the New Balance X More V5 comes in at a retail price of just $155. For a top-of-the-line max cushion sneaker, that price is unbelievable. Okay, maybe it's not like out of this world amazing like the Comfort is, but it is a really, really good price for what you're getting, especially compared to the competition. I mean, the very recently released New Balance 1080 V14s, which I just picked up and are meant to be a very well cushioned running sneaker, cost $165, and you get less cushion than you get in the More V5. Obviously, this shoe is tuned differently, so it's for a slightly different running style, but you get less material in this shoe than this shoe, and this shoe is $10 cheaper. Of course, if you want to grab a pair of the New Balance More V5s, I made sure to leave affiliate links to this shoe through the YouTube shopping tab on your screen. Honestly, if you're looking for a max cushion sneaker, I'm just gonna save your time now and say just buy it. This shoe's incredible, just buy it. But hey, if you need more convincing, just keep watching the video because I'm gonna keep talking about how good this shoe is. So getting into materials, the New Balance More V5 features an engineered mesh upper, which is relatively breathable on foot. However, where the upper of this shoe really shines is the padding. This shoe is incredibly well padded in the upper. It's not the plushest shoe that I've ever put on my feet in terms of the upper, but it is very, very soft and accents this ridiculously soft midsole very, very well. Even the mesh portions of the shoe are somewhat padded, which is kind of odd. I didn't know that they could do that in mesh, but they can, which is nice. And the upper offers a pretty decent amount of stretchiness and flexibility, so you never feel constrained in this shoe. Now, unlike my previous most comfortable sneaker of the year, the Fuel Cell Rebel V4, which features a race day style upper that's a very thin mesh, it's definitely not as breathable as that because there's just literally more material on top of your foot, but I will say that the padding on this shoe is definitely more comfortable. In addition to the upper feeling great on foot, it also looks decent. New Balance did a good job of keeping it simple, but also featuring some nice design touches that don't make it look too simple. Obviously on the lateral side, you've got a large New Balance logo, and then on the medial side, you've got this reflective, smaller New Balance logo. But not only that, the knit on the toe of the sneaker features some nice design elements that sort of break up the simple look. Moving up from there, you've got your flat laces. In this case, they're gray laces because of this colorway. Underneath that, you've got this pretty nice padded tongue, which is actually very, very well padded. The tongue is also relatively breathable, as you can tell from these kind of holes that run all the way through it, and it does also feature some foam or something that runs through the middle of it that makes it that much softer. The More V5 does feature a gusseted tongue, tongue, and of course you've got the Fresh Foam X More branding at the top of the tongue. And as far as the laces go, they do a pretty good job of locking your feet into place. But now let's talk about the sizing of the New Balance Fresh Foam X More V5. And the good news is, if you're a wide footer, is that this shoe is pretty wide footer friendly. As you can probably see, it's a very wide shoe. However, even with this sort of wider stance, it doesn't feel bad on more regular width foot people like myself, which is good news. There are other width options of this shoe if you decide you want to go slightly thinner or slightly wider, but I would just suggest going with the standard width unless you have very narrow feet or very wide feet. And as far as the actual fit of the shoe, I would say that this shoe is pretty much true to size, and that's what I would suggest if you're grabbing the shoe for yourself. Go true to size. I went true to size. I'm a size 9 and it fits me great. All around, this shoe is awesome. I genuinely love it. On the heel of the shoe, you've got your More branding in yellow, at least on this colorway. I mean, that's fine. I don't love it. That's the one, I guess that's the one part of the shoe I don't love, but it's such a minor detail, it literally doesn't matter. Actually, before I forget, the insole of the shoe is just kind of a standard foam insole. It's nothing special, but to be real, you really don't need much padding in your insole when you've got this much padding underneath your foot. And actually, the insole has this really interesting printed detail, which I guess shows the different designs or patterns that were used on the foam midsoles throughout the years, which I didn't notice until just now. That's a very cool detail. I kind of dig that. You've got this sort of like circle in circle look on the midsole of this shoe, and then previously it was sort of a, I guess, hexagonal design, and then you got the honeycomb thing, and then the diamond thing, and then the, I guess, another hexagonal design. I don't know. But either way, it's a cool callback to previous Fresh Foam sneakers. But now let's move down on the shoe to the part that I think everyone was most excited about hearing about, and also the most obvious part of the shoe, the insanely thick Fresh Foam X midsole. This midsole is ridiculous. I mean, it looks comical. I'm not gonna lie to you. Visually, it looks a little ridiculous, but it feels ridiculous underfoot. And so for me, that's a trade-off that I am absolutely willing to make. And hey, if you like those crazy Balenciaga sneakers that are massive, you kind of get the same vibe with these for $155 versus $1,000. Plus, the comfort on these is way better. Obviously, the stack height of this midsole is almost absurd, but the actual foam that's used in the midsole is also incredibly soft underfoot. The name of the sneaker tells you the name of the foam. It's Fresh Foam X, and Fresh Foam X is one of New Balance's softer foams. In my opinion, it feels just as soft as Nike's Zoom X foam. It's just so soft and pillowy and marshmallowy underneath your feet. And because this shoe is so wide, it's also pretty stable, which is surprising for a foam that's this soft. Now, because this shoe is designed as sort of a recovery running sneaker, but also a lifestyle sneaker, it doesn't feature any kind of carbon fiber plate or plate in the midsole. So your foot is really just on top of the Fresh Foam X, which means in every step, you're gonna get that crazy soft feel underneath your foot, whether you're running or you're walking. Now, I have run in this shoe a few times and compared it to some of my other max cushion sneakers, and this is by far the plushest and softest and most max cushion feeling ride that I've ever run in. Now, I would say that this is absolutely a recovery running sneaker for slow runs. You're not gonna break any speed records in this shoe. It's just too mushy for that. But I will say, if you're looking for a shoe to throw on to help your knees, or a shoe to give you just the most plush ride possible, this is one of the best ways to go. And also, this shoe is just a beast for lifestyle wear. This underfoot cushion, I mean, it's hard to describe. If you've tried max cushion sneakers before, you probably know that sort of underfoot softness that I'm talking about, but I don't know if you know what it feels like when you're standing on basically two midsoles stacked on top of each other of that same cushion. It's wild. It's just crazy. It's just something you have to try, and for $155, I would suggest trying it, again, through the YouTube shopping tab on your screen. But seriously, it's just so soft, and if you're looking for a new max cushion sneaker, this is the way to go. Now, sure, I get it. Visually, the shoe looks ridiculous. It's a pretty insane looking pair of sneakers, but I will say, for the amount of cushion that you have in this sneaker, they did a good job of making it look as ridiculous as you possibly could. In my opinion, it's one of the better looking max cushion sneakers. I don't think it looks as good as the Brooks Glycerin Ghost, but I do think it looks, I'd give it like a 7. Visually, I'd give it a 7. I'm not embarrassed to put these on. I don't feel ridiculous walking around in these. I do gain a couple inches. I go from like 5'11" to a 6 footer, which I guess is a good thing, but they don't feel stupid when I'm wearing them, if that makes sense. The heel to toe drop in this sneaker is 4mm, and even with all this foam, it's still very, very soft. And what I like about this shoe is that, yes, you're getting a stupid amount of foam underneath your heel, but you're also getting a bunch of foam underneath your forefoot. You don't feel like you're bottoming out when you walk forward or take the next step. It just all around feels very plush, very stable, just a very comfortable all-around experience whether you're walking or running. And for me, traveling, this is my go-to. I've been traveling a lot recently, and this is the shoe that I throw on whenever I'm jumping on the plane or doing whatever I'm doing, even if it's driving. This shoe is unbeaten in the comfort department. It truly is. When New Balance called this the More, they weren't lying. This is more of everything. Comfort, cushion, height. This is absolutely the most. They should call this the New Balance Fresh Foam Most, because that's what this is. Finishing off the part about the midsole, because I know I got sidetracked. The entire midsole of this shoe is made up of Fresh Foam X, and because Fresh Foam X is so soft and so squishy, it creases very heavily. Now what I really like about this shoe is the way that they sculpted the midsole, because this midsole sculpting does a good job of hiding some of the creases. Yes, I feel like the angle of the design of the midsole is probably the opposite of the angle of the creases, so I think it would have been better to maybe flip the design, but visually I understand why the direction of the midsole is kind of going this way because it just looks better. But even with the sort of crisscrossing creases versus midsole design, it still does a good job of hiding some of those creases. And overall, like we saw on the insole of the sneaker, I think this is probably my favorite Fresh Foam iteration or design out of the previous ones that we saw, again, on the insole. Finally, moving to the bottom of the shoe, you've got these strategically placed rubber panels for extra durability and for traction. They do a decent job of minimizing the wear on the foam of the sneaker because obviously a lot of the bottom of the sneaker is exposed foam. It gets the job done. Traction-wise, it's decent. The lugs on this shoe are pretty slim, so you're not gonna get like crazy traction on wet surfaces or, you know, off-road situations. But for general day-to-day wear, just walking around the office, maybe walking around the grocery store or going on a run around your neighborhood, it's gonna be fine. Overall, this shoe is absurdly soft underfoot. If you're looking for the max cushion of max cushion shoes, this is the way to go. Now, if you're looking for a fast daily trainer, this isn't that. But if you're looking for a recovery running shoe or a shoe to take on long, slow runs, and for people looking for the softest daily sneaker just to wear around or travel in, for $155, it's hard to not grab these. I will say that I feel like the colorways of this shoe are kind of lacking. There's like 5 or 6 on New Balance's website, and they're all fine. This is probably my favorite, but even this one's just like, it's okay. It's crazy to me that New Balance every year with the More line has gotten better and better and better. And that seems to be the case for every New Balance sneaker line, which is kind of wild to say because you'd expect that to be the case with every sneaker line, but a lot of sneaker lines sometimes take steps backwards. In the case of New Balance, I can't think of a line that's done that recently. All of their sneakers have gotten progressively better from year to year. And because of that, I'm really excited to see what we get with the New Balance Fresh Foam X More V6. Will it be even thicker? I don't know, I feel like that might be too much. That might be a step backwards, I don't know. But either way, I'm excited to see what they do with it. Genuinely, this is the most comfortable sneaker of 2024. But let me know your thoughts on this shoe in the comment section down below. This shoe is absolutely incredible. Let me know if you've tried it. Let me know if you want to try it. And again, if you want to grab it for yourself, YouTube shopping tab on your screen. Seriously, check it out. It's amazing. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't yet, and I'll see you all in the next one.